Hey besties, Javell here. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, you've never seen my channel before, my name's Javell. I make book related content. I also make a little bit of lifestyle content. I also make fashion videos. And what else do I do? I don't know, I kind of do everything. So today I have my second monthly reading wrap up and I'm really excited because this month I read so many good books and they're so exciting and fun and I can't wait to talk about it because who else am I going to talk about it with? No one wants to talk to me about books. I'm sure my boyfriend's tired of hearing about them. He literally thinks all my books are crazy, so I'm here to talk to my gals, my besties. And yeah, let's get into the video. Alright, so this month I read 6 books and honestly I've been so busy this month, so you know, reading time very limited, but I read 6 books this month and the first one I read is The Score by Elle Kennedy. And I don't know if you guys can tell, but this book is thick. It's like a brick, okay? It's so big. But The Score basically tells the story of Allie Hayes and Dean De Laurentiis. And so Allie recently broke up with her boyfriend, but you know, her boyfriend's still calling her, he's still texting her, he's threatening her to come to her dorm, and she's like, no, I do not want to see you right now. So she calls her best friend and her best friend tells her like, oh, you can stay at my boyfriend's apartment. However, his best friend is there. Okay, so Dean is at the apartment that Allie's gonna stay at, so obviously there's already a forced proximity trope. So while Allie's staying there, she's conversing with Dean and eventually they got drunk together. One thing led to another and you already know what happened. Basically, after that, Dean kind of proposes that they do a friends with benefits situation because he is the typical frat boy. He's a typical player. He's a typical F-boy, okay? So he does not do relationships, where Allie is the girl that's always in a relationship. She's just a relationship kind of gal. So she's like, no, I can't do this. The story basically follows them and how they navigate their new friends with benefits relationship. And so this is kind of like a college hockey romance because Dean is a hockey player. So if you're into that, definitely the book for you. And it basically follows that, but also what I really liked about this book is that there's also like, it's not a deep book, but there's also like real life elements in it where it like follows a little bit of tragedy and mourning and stuff like that, which I really liked. Even though it was such a fun book to read, there was also like, you know, real life events where it's just not all sunshine and roses. And so I really liked that. I also really liked Dean's character, even though he was supposed to be like, I don't know, unlikable or kind of like an F-boy, but I really liked his character and you could really tell his heart throughout the entire book. And whether or not they fell in love, that is for you to find out. I would rate this book a 4.5. Simply just saying 4.5 because, you know, if it was a little bit deeper, I'd probably say it's a 5-star, but it's still a really fun book. I really like this book. I also cried during this book, which I'm probably the only girl who cried reading this, okay? It wasn't even sad. But I did cry, and yeah, don't read this book if you're PMSing. Right, so the next book I read is Bully by Miss Penelope Douglass, and honestly, I've read a few of her books before, and I really like her writing style. So this book basically tells the story of Tate and Jared, and they're best friends, childhood best friends, but upon coming to high school, for some reason, they separate, and he kind of just started being really mean to her. He started bullying her, and he spreads like a lot of rumors about her, and her junior year of high school, she's gonna just like, can't really do this anymore, so she goes to France. She goes abroad and she studies abroad for the entire junior year. She comes back this summer, you know, leading up to senior year, and she kind of made up her mind. She's changed a lot over the summer and she's like, I'm no longer taking this, like I'm literally just gonna start fighting back. You know, I cannot let him ruin my high school experience. I cannot let him ruin my high school career. And so she kind of just starts fighting back. And if you've ever read any of Penelope Douglass's books, she always has really strong female leads who does not take anyone's shit. They always fight back, which I really like that about her books. So yeah, so basically this follows their senior year of them like going back and forth fighting. And also now that she's back, she kind of blew up over the last year. She got really hot, and so she's attracting a lot more attention. No one's really listening to the rumors anymore, which kind of drives Jared crazy. And so that's basically the plot, okay? I can't give too much away because I don't want to give any spoilers, but this is so good. I really like this book, and honestly I would also rate this like a 4.5, maybe a 4. I enjoyed it. I feel like there were like deeper elements in it, and also this is kind of like a friends to enemies to lovers romance going on. Also I would give a little trigger warning that there's abuse in there, so if you're triggered by that, please do not read this book. There's so many other books you will enjoy without being triggered. moving on, the next book I read is Hook, Line, and Sinker by Tessa Bailey, and she's low-key getting a lot of clout on TikTok, which I love for her because I really love this book. So this book basically tells the story of Tessa? No. This basically tells the story of Hannah and Fox, and they're friends from the previous summer, but now she's back in town and she's staying with him. So already forced proximity trope, very apparent. So she's staying with him, and she also has a crush on this guy at her job. So because Fox is really into dating, or actually just, you know, he's very much in the dating realm, she's getting all the good tips from him, and the more she hangs out with Fox, the more she realizes like, this might be the guy for me. But the only problem with Fox is that like he doesn't really do relationships. He's kind of just a guy that sleeps around. Okay, he's a little bit out there. He doesn't really have girlfriends, and she just doesn't really want to be that for him. Like, she wants to be more. She just doesn't want to be somebody that he slept with. And so basically it takes us on their journey. And so I really like this book simply because like it was just a really fun read. I felt like I was like swooning, like it gave me all the feels. If you like books that just make you feel like butterflies, this is such a good book for that. This book also deals with imposter syndrome, and I feel like for me, I never really connect with characters like on a deeper level, or just feel like I see myself in characters. But I kind of saw myself in Hannah a little bit, because she is at the point in her life where she is just so over being in like the background, like, and she's so over just waiting for things to come to her, and so she's in her go-getter mode, or like her go-getter era, which I really liked. And so I feel like that was very similar to my era right now. Okay, I'm no longer waiting for things to come to me, like I will get it. So I really like that, and I felt like we had that in common. Also, this book is a third person, which if you guys watched any of my last book videos, you know I hate third person, but the way Tessa Bailey writes, you don't even realize it's third person, and even if you do, it just doesn't really feel like third person. She does that really well, so I really like that about this book as well. And so I would rate this also like a 4.5 star. I really like this. I read it in a couple hours as well. It's just too good. The next book I read is Layla by Miss Colleen Hoover. This is a dark paranormal romance, and it basically tells the story of Layla and Leeds, and as soon as they met, they're kind of just like in love. They're both very much obsessed with each other, and Leeds is convinced like, I'm gonna spend the rest of my life with this girl. But then something happens and there's an accident, and Layla gets hurt really bad, and she just so happens to recover. But while she's recovering after the accident, she's just never really the same. She's just so different, and Leeds is just really trying to fall back in love with her and reconnect with her and make things be, you know, the way they were before, you know, the accident. So in order for them to reconnect, Leeds kind of just decide, oh, we should go back to the place that we met, which was like at a bed and breakfast. So they go back to that area just so they could reconnect and kind of just start over in a sense. And while they're there, like really weird things just start happening, and they cannot, not a way to explain the things that are happening. And basically what I'm trying to get at is that this bed and breakfast might or might not be haunted. Okay, so this story basically navigates that, and while they're at the bed and breakfast, Layla's life is kind of being threatened. She's really in danger, so that's basically them trying to navigate. But this book is so different for Colleen Hoover, because you know she always does like contemporary romance, YA romance, but this book was scary. I did not expect it to be like a paranormal. I read the synopsis, but it did not seem that it would be a paranormal book. I was terrified while reading this. Literally, I could not read it when it was nighttime. I could only read it in the daylight. And so this is just a very different book. I still liked it though. The plot twists were insane. I definitely recommend, if you're not scared of everything like me, I definitely recommend it. But if you are a scary girl, I don't know. I rated this book a 3.5 stars just because I don't really like scary stuff, okay? I don't watch scary movies, I don't watch thrillers, I don't watch anything that's gonna get my heart rate up. So that's pretty much it. Next book I read is This Summer I Turned Pretty by Miss Jenny Han, and I have like the older cover, which is fine. It's fine. It's fine. I actually already read this book when I was like a freshman in high school, or maybe like middle school. I know I read it a couple of years ago, and I really liked it back then, but I thought I would reread it with new eyes because now I'm an adult. I probably have a lot of different views, and also it comes on Amazon Video. It turned into like a show, which I really want to see, so I had to kind of refresh my mind. The Summer I Turned Pretty basically tells the story of Isabella. She goes by Belly, her family, and her mom's best friend's family. Every summer they go to Cousin's Beach together, and they've been doing this for years, since they were like literal toddlers, so they're very much family. But Belly just so happens to be in love with not one brother but two, but in particular she's really obsessed with Conrad, and so the book basically follows this pivotal summer of her life because this summer she just so happens to really have blossomed. She is in her hot girl era, and both of the guys are kind of having changing feelings for her. So it basically follows that story. This book also does like past to present, so it does like flashbacks, which is fine in this book. Sometimes I hate when authors do that, but in this book I felt like it was good because it kind of helped us to understand why things are the way they are now. But I did like that. I feel like when I was younger, I used to be obsessed with this book, but now that I'm a lot older, it made me realize how immature Isabella is, or how immature Belly is. Like literally, I was so annoyed by her the entire book because she is so selfish, and like literally every second she's calling someone out on being selfish or like being so self-centered, and I'm like, girl, have you looked at yourself? Have you looked at your actions? Because you think everything's about you. You don't care about anyone's feelings. You only care about yourself. So that really annoyed me, and it made me realize like, wow, when I was like 13 or 14, I was not even realizing the character flaws in her. And what really sucks is that like I have seen like no character growth from her, because it also goes back to like when she was like 6 and 8, and like I really could not tell the difference between her being 6 and her being 16. She acted the same way, like she did not mature. I totally understand why the boys treated her the way they did. Also, I'm really obsessed with Laurel and Susanna's relationship, or like their friendship. I hope one day I could have a friendship that sustained like so many difficulties, so many decades of friendship. That just makes my heart so warm. I love that. Summer I Turned Pretty is a coming of age young adult romance, and honestly I would rate this maybe like a 3.5 just because I was just so irritated by Belly's character. I could barely finish this book without being so annoyed by her. So for that reason, I would say 3.5. So The Summer I Turned Pretty is actually a trilogy, which after I read The Summer I Turned Pretty, I read It's Not Summer Without You, which is the second book in the trilogy. And I don't have an actual physical copy because I read it on my phone. It's Not Summer Without You basically picks up 2 months after the first book ends, which is basically the summer before Belly's senior year of high school. But it kind of shows how Belly and her family, as well as the Fisher boys, navigated that summer. It shows us how they navigate life after a certain tragic event happened, which I cannot tell because that will be a spoiler. But also, this next book basically tells Jeremiah's point of view, which I really like getting a input on his point of view, because the first book was just simply Belly's, but the back and forth between Belly's point of view and Jeremiah's, which was really nice. Also, the love triangle trope is still present in this one as well, because Jeremiah and both Conrad are kind of in Belly's head all the time. I don't think this girl thinks about anything else except Jeremiah and Conrad. Literally. Belly is the ultimate pick-me. She is the girl that ditches her friends for a boy. She is the girl that like is mean to her friends because boys are around. She is the ultimate pick-me, and so we really just see no character development from her, which is really sad. I was hoping she would get better. I love the ending of this book, and I would rate this also a 3.5 stars. But that's pretty much it for my monthly reading wrap-up. I'm currently reading 2 books. I'm reading Regretting You by Colleen Hoover, and I'm also reading the 3rd book in the Summer I Turned Pretty series, so that will be in my July wrap-up. But that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you guys liked it. If you haven't subscribed yet, definitely subscribe down below. Please leave recommendations for me, and I love you guys so much. I'll see you guys in my next video.
Ooh, I'm gonna pull up study to the side. She keep coming at me every day and night. When I left in my life started feeling right.